Hey guys, so as requested by all of you, I've created a predicted paper for paper 2H for IGCSE Edexcel Maths A. This is the first version of the predicted paper. The second version will be uploaded before the exam. So in this version, I've tried to include as many topics as I could for the topics that did not come in paper 1 and the ones that frequently get repeated in both papers. The second version will obviously include the topics that I couldn't add in this one. So be sure to check the second version out once I upload it. And do let me know your thoughts about this version, what you think needs to be focused on most so I can make adjustments in the second version. And let's start with the questions, and I hope this helps you with your exam preparation. So in the first question, we are dealing with mixed numbers, which is a very common question that comes in paper 2. So we have to show that 3 whole number 5 over 7 divided by 1 whole number 5 over 8 is equal to 2 whole number 2 over 7. So first thing first, you change the mixed number into an improper fraction. So for that, you multiply the denominator with the whole number and add the result to the numerator. So 7 times 3 is 21. 21 plus 5 is 26. So 26 over 7 divided by 8 times 1 is 8 plus 5. That's going to be 13 over 8. Now we have two improper fractions being divided by each other. So for that case, what we do is we take the reciprocal of the second fraction and turn the division into multiplication. So this becomes 8 over 13 and division becomes times. Now comes the simplifying part. So when you're simplifying fractions, we can simplify them vertically or diagonally, not horizontally. Horizontally, you can just multiply the numerator with the numerator and denominator with the denominator. So if you notice, 13 and 26 come in the same times table. 13 ones are 13, 13 twos are 26. So that gives us 8 times 2, which is 16 over 7. Now we have to convert 16 over 7 into a mixed number. So we know that 7 twos are 14 and 16 minus 14 is 2. The quotient is your whole number. Remainder is your numerator. And denominator remains the same. Hence, 16 over 7 is the same as 2 whole number 2 over 7, which is exactly what the question wanted us to prove. Then product of prime factors. So this is also another very common question that frequently comes in paper 2, especially if it hasn't appeared in paper 1. So it says that write 600 as a product of powers of its prime factors. So we will prime factorize 600. So for that, you can draw the tree diagram. 600 can be split into two factors. You can pick any factor. I always advise students to go for bigger numbers so that it makes your calculation easier. So we can say 600 is 30 times 20. Now 30 can be split into 3 times 10 and 20 can be split into 4 times 5. 3 is a prime number, so we cannot further factorize it. However, 10 can be broken down into 2 and 5. So since 2 and 5 are prime numbers, so we cannot further break them down. Same goes for the 5 over here. However, the 4 over here can be broken down into 2 and 2 because 2 times 2 is 4. So these are our prime factors, which when you multiply, give us a 600. 600 is the same as 2 cube times 3 times 5 square. I rewrote 2 times 2 times 2 as 2 cube, 3 as it is, and 5 times 5 as 5 square. So the question said that write 600 as a product of powers of its prime factors, which is exactly what I've done. They're written as a product of powers of its prime factors. So 2 cube times 3 times 5 square. Then the mean, median, mode, and range question, a very popular question once again. So it says that Ava writes down 5 whole numbers. For these 5 numbers, the median is 7, the mode is 8, the range is 5, find a possible value for each of the 5 numbers that Ava writes down. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. We don't know what these numbers are, but we know that the median is 7. Now, if we notice, we have 5 numbers, which means that's an odd number data set. So median value would be the number that's right in the middle of the data set, which is 7. So 7 will come over here. Then we have the mode. Mode is 8. So it's always advised that when you have like a set of data values, rearrange those data values and write them ascending order, which means starting with the smallest and then ending with the largest. So we're writing our data values based on that order as well. We're going to start with the smallest and end with the largest. Since the median is 7, and that's right in the middle of the data set, and the mode is 8, which means 8 will be this and this. 8 cannot come before 7 because once again, we're writing the data in ascending order. And since the mode is 8, which means it has to occur more than once. So 8 comes over here. Next, we know that the range is 5. So if the range is 5, which means we can use this to find the smallest value over here. Range is your difference between the maximum and the minimum value. Mode is your highest frequency value. And median, middle value. So range is 5, maximum value is 8, minimum is what we're trying to find. So minimum is going to be 8 minus 5, which is equal to 3. So 3 is coming over here. So now the number between 3 and 7, that can be any number. Why? Because they haven't given us the mean value, which we could have used to figure out the exact value what this number would have. But we have the possibility of that number being a 4, a 5, or a 6. So over here, I'm going to write a 4, but you can also write 5 or 6. Any of these 3 numbers would work over here because it says find a possible value for each of the 5 numbers that Ava writes down. So someone might have written 5, someone would have written 6, someone would have written 4. Either of it would be correct as long as your 3, 7, 8, 8 match based on the given information. Angles in parallel lines. So it says that ABCD, FGHI are parallel straight lines. ABGJ and ECH are straight lines. BE equals to CE, which has already been shown in the diagram. Angle BEC is given as 44 degrees. Work out the size of the angle JGH. So for this, you need to remember your properties of angles in parallel lines. Based on the given information, I would first begin with using this angle and this triangle. When you have 2 equal lengths in a triangle, that means it's an isosceles triangle, which means this angle is going to equal to this angle. And we can easily find these 2 angles by subtracting 180 and 44 and then dividing the result by 2, which is going to give us 68 degrees. So the reason for this is isosceles triangle. Since this is 68 and this is also 68, we can see that JE, this line, is a transversal passing through the line AD and FI. Both are parallel to each other, which is shown by the arrows. So 68 and this angle G will also be 68. Why? Because they are corresponding angles and corresponding angles are equal angles. And you should be able to recognize what a corresponding angle would be and where it would be based on the letter the lines are making. If they're making an F, that means it's corresponding. So these two are equal. So if we go back over here, angle BGH equals to 68 because corresponding angles are equal. Now, our goal is to figure out the angle JGH. So we know that it's a straight line and sum of angles on a straight line equal to 180. Sum of angles on a straight line equals 180 degrees. So angle JGH equal to 180 minus 68, which gives us the value of 112. That's your answer. So now there might be other ways to reach to this answer as well. No way is like, the only way. Maybe you were using alternate angles. Maybe you were using vertically opposite angles. If any way is correct, you just have to pick that method that suits you the best, saves your time, and gets you the right answer. Then question 4 says, Andreas, Ayla, and Paolo share some money in the ratios 3:2:5. The total amount of money that Ayla and Paolo receive is 76 pounds, more than the amount of money that Andreas receives. Andreas buys a video game for 48.50 pounds with some of his share of the money. Work out how much money Andreas has left from his share of the money when he has bought the video game. If Ayla and Paolo's share is 76 pounds, more than the amount of money that Andreas receives, that means 5x plus 2x minus 3x equals to 76. Because this is Ayla and Paolo's share, and this is Andrea's share. So as you can see in the statement, the total amount of money that Ayla and Paolo receive, which is this, is 76 pounds more than the amount of money that Andreas receives. So the difference between their shares is equal to 76. So 5x plus 2x is 7x minus 3x equals to 76, which is 4x equals to 76. X is going to be 76 divided by 4, and that leaves us with 19. Andreas buys a video game for 48.50 pounds with some of his share of the money. We need to calculate how much he's left with. First, let's find what his share was. So Andreas' share is 3 times x, which is 3 times 19. And that leaves us with 57 pounds. What she's left with is going to be 57 minus 48.5, which leaves us with 8.50 pounds. That's your answer. Then use a ruler and compasses to construct the bisector of angle BAC. You must show all your construction lines. So since constructions and loci did not come in paper 1, so I have a feeling it might come in paper 2. So there's no harm in learning how to do the angle bisector. Most people know the perpendicular bisector, so I didn't include that. But angle bisector is something that everyone makes a mistake with. So for angle bisector, what we're going to do is that we're going to open our compass to a specific length, which is like less than the length of the line AB and EC. So let's say we open it to 3 centimeters, let's say. So when you open your compass to 3 centimeters, you put the pointed part at A, and then you draw an arc with that 3 centimeter length on the line AB and AC. Once you've done that, you will put your compass over here at this point with the same length that we've already chosen, which is 3 centimeters, and draw an arc over here. And then using the compass, putting it on the arc at the line AC, you draw another arc with the same length. Throughout this process, the length of the compass which we've opened to is not changing. It's going to remain consistent at 3 centimeters. Once you've done that, we're going to draw a line from the middle of the point A towards the center of the intersection of the two arcs. And this line will be your angle bisector. This angle will be equal to this angle. What you can also do is you can initially begin with measuring the length of the angle, BAC, and then once you've drawn your angle bisector, you can check whether the angle bisector is actually dividing that angle into two equal parts or not. If it's not, that means you did something wrong with your arcs. Maybe change the length and draw it again. But this question is like, even though it's like 2 marks, but like it's like a grade changing 2 mark because like, you know what the answer would be. You know that the angle would be divided into two equal parts. So you just need to make sure that you're doing it correctly and you're using the right length. Make sure that you're drawing the second arc from this point and this point, not from this point A. From point A, you draw the initial arcs, and from the arcs that you've drawn, you draw the next arcs from those points, and then you connect their intersection with point A through a straight line. The next question says that Gopal is paid 20,000 rupees each month. Jamuna is paid 19,200 rupees each month. Gopal and Jamuna are both given an increase in their monthly pay. After the increase, they're both paid the same amount each month. Gopal was given an increase of 8%. Work out the percentage increase that Jamuna was given. So for this, if Gopal was given an increase of 8%, let's find what that increase was. So that's going to be 8 over 100 times the amount he gets paid, which is 20,000. So that gives us 1,600 rupees. Now this is the increase he's given, so that means his new amount is going to be 20,000 plus 1,600, which is 21,600 rupees. Now they're both given an increase in their monthly pay, and after the increase, they're both paid the same amount each month, which means after the increase that has been given to Jamuna, her new amount will also be 21,600. So since they both shared the same amount each month after the increase, that means 21,600 for Jamuna would equal to the old amount, which is 19,200 plus x over 100, which is the percentage that we don't know and we're trying to find, times the old amount, which is 19 over 200. So let's first subtract 21,600 and 19,200 to get the increase that she'll be getting. 19,200 divided by 100 is going to be 192 times x, and this is going to be 2,400 over here. Then we divide 2,400 by 192, and that's going to leave us with 12.5%. So that is the percentage increase that she's getting on her pay. Then bearings and scale drawings, this did not come in paper 1 as far as I know. So I thought it would be important to mention this over here. Very basic question, nothing complicated. So it says that the scale diagram shows the position on a map of a house A. So the scale for this is that 1 centimeter represents 200 meters. They have shown us point A. House C is on a bearing of 110 degrees from A. The distance from A to C is 700. So as you can see, 1 centimeter is equals to 200 meters, which means 1 meter would equal to 1 over 200 centimeters. So to find the value of 700 meters in centimeters, we will divide 700 by 200, which gives us 3.5 centimeters. Obviously, on the paper, you cannot draw 700 meters. That's why they gave us the scale that 1 centimeter equals to 200 meters. So using that scale, we can see that 700 meters is equal to 3.5 centimeters. So using a ruler, you will draw a line of 3.5 centimeter to show the distance between A and C. And then using your protractor, you will draw the angle of 110 degrees to show the bearing and exact position of C. So 110 degrees will be somewhere over here. I'm drawing it freehand because I can't use the protractor on the laptop. But you will draw the bearing using the protractor. Please do not do it freehand. They do check it. I know everyone thinks that if I make an estimate of the angle, it's going to be correct. No, it's not always going to be correct. So please use the protractor to draw the bearing. This is going to be 110 degrees, and this distance is supposed to be 3.5 centimeters. You will use the ruler and protractor to draw these. Now, I have to use cross over here. So this is the cross to show the position of C. They're saying write the scale of the map in the form of 1:n. So they've already told us that 1 centimeter equals to 200 meters. So to convert it in the form of 1:n, we need to basically convert the 200 meters into centimeters. 1 meter equals to 100 centimeters. So 200 meters would equal to 200 times 100, which is 20,000 centimeters. So it's going to be 1:20,000. So that is going to be your scale of the map in the form of 1:n. The next question is on inequalities. On the grid, they're asking us to draw and label the straight line with the equation x equals to 1.5. So whenever your equation is x equals to something, that means you will draw a vertical line. When it says y equals to something, you will draw a horizontal line. So for x equals to 1.5, we will draw a line that's passing through 1.5 on the x-axis. Y equals to x is the line that's passing through the origin, where if x is 1, y is going to be 1. If x is 2, y is going to be 2, and so on. So let me label this. This is y equals to x. This is x equals to 1.5. And then x plus y equals to 6. So for x plus y equals to 6, what you can do is you can find the x-intercept and y-intercept, then use those to plot the equation on the graph, and then draw the line. So for x-intercept, put y equals to 0. So x plus 0 equals to 6, and x equals to 6, which means we have a coordinate of 6, 0. That's over here. Then for y-intercept, we will put x equals to 0. So 0 plus y equals to 6, and again, y is also 6. So 0, 6 is our other coordinate. That's over here. Now we'll just connect the 2 points with a straight line. And these are your graphs for the given equations. Then they're saying show by shading on the grid the region that satisfies all 3 of the inequalities and label the region R. So over here, x is greater than equal to 1.5, y is greater than equal to x, and x plus y is less than equal to 6. So for x greater than equal to 1.5, we look at the values where x is increasing. So x is increasing on the right-hand side. So this is our shaded part. Then y is greater than equal to x. So let me choose a different color for that. So greater than equal to x means values of y that are increasing, which means above the line. So that is our relevant part. And then x plus y is less than equal to 6. So if it's less than equal to 6, that means we're looking at the values underneath the line. So this. Now we have to pick that region for R, which shows the overlapping part for all these 3 inequalities. And as you can see, the overlapping part is this triangle in the middle, which is the case in most of the inequality questions. It's the part that's right in the middle of the 3 lines. But that doesn't mean that you assume it's always going to be that. You still have to show your shadings individually and see if your assumption is correct. But I'm just giving you this extra information that in most cases, if you've practiced enough questions, you would see that it's the area that's right in the middle of the lines. So this is your region R, and you're going to label that. That's your answer. Then angles and polygons. The diagram shows a regular 10-sided polygon, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. We have to show that x equals to y. It's a regular 10-sided polygon, which means all of the interior angles are going to be the same. So let's begin with finding the value of the interior angle for this polygon. So for this, you need to remember the formula for each interior angle, which is n minus 2 times 180 over n. If it was talking about the sum of interior angles, then you would do n minus 2 times 180. So n is 10. So 10 minus 2 divided by 10 and then times 180 over here, which gives us a value of 144 degrees. So which means all of these angles are 144. Now, the reason why I did not highlight angle A, angle G, and angle D is because they're being split right now. But that doesn't mean that complete angle wouldn't equal to 144. It is 144. It's consistent for all interior angles of this polygon because it's a regular polygon. If it was an irregular polygon, then it wouldn't have all equal interior angles. So another property of a regular polygon is that the angles are the same. That's correct. But the length of the sides are also the same, which means all of these lengths are equal. That's what makes it a regular polygon. So now if you look at this, let me just highlight these shapes over here. We have this shape where 3 angles are given and 2 angles are unknown. And since JA and HG are the same, which means these 2 angles are also going to be the same. Similarly, if I highlight this shape, the same case applies over here. These 2 angles over here, they're going to be the same. And these 2 B and C are also going to be the same, which is 144. So now what we can do is we can find x first using the shape GHIJA, and then using that we can find the value of y. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to first find the sum of interior angles for this shape. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lengths. JA, IJ, HI, HG, and GA. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for this, it's n equals to 5. So I find the sum of interior angles. That's going to be 5 minus 2 times 180, which is going to give me 540 degrees. So from 540, if I subtract the three 144s and divide it by 2, that would give me the value of x. So 540. So 540 minus 3 times 144 divided by 2 equals x. Once again, angle J, angle I, angle H, all three are 144. Since sum of interior angles for this polygon is 540, so I'm subtracting 540 and the three 144s to get the sum of these two angles. They're both x, and then I divide it by 2 to find the value of x. So 540 minus 432, then we divide that by 2, that gives me x as 54 degrees. Now I have to show that y also equals to 54 degrees. So for that, I'm going to use the same concept on this other polygon inside this polygon. Find the missing angle and then subtract that angle and x from 144 to see what we get for y. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides for this. So n equals to 4. Sum of interior angles would be, that's 4 minus 2 times 180, which is 360 degrees. Which is the quadrilateral, so sum of interior angles is going to be 360 for it. So to find the other unknown angle, we do 360 minus 2 times 144 because we had two complete interior angles in that, divided by 2 because we had two equal unknown angles. So 144 times 2 is 288. Subtract that from 360, which gives us 72. Divided by 2 is 36 degrees. So now to find the value of y, this is 36, this is 54. So let's see what y is going to be. Y is 144 minus 54 minus 36. 144 minus 54 minus 36, that's also 54 degrees. So we can clearly see that x is equal to y, and that's how we prove it. Initially, it might look weird because there's nothing given. They've only said it's a 10-sided polygon, and they just put like x and y for angles. But whenever they say it's a regular sided polygon, remember that your sum of interior angles or like just each interior angle formula, that will always come in handy. Apply those, find some angles, find some missing information, and then it'll give you a much clearer picture of the question and help you in solving it. Circle theorems. P, Q, R, S, and T are points on a circle with center O. QOS is the diameter of the circle. Angle POS equals to 124 degrees. Angle PRS equals to m degrees. Angle PTS equals to n degrees. Find the value of m and n. So for the value of m, if you notice, angle at the center is 124. So it is one of the circle theorems that angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. Angle at the circumference is m for the angle at the center, which means m would be 124 divided by 2, and that's 62. Once again, angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. So we're just applying that rule and finding the value of m. Then for n, if you notice, we have a cyclic quadrilateral. In a cyclic quadrilateral, opposite angles add up to 180. And we can recognize a cyclic quadrilateral by the fact that all the vertices of the quadrilateral touch the circumference. None of the vertices are like inside the shape. For example, if you look at the quadrilateral OPTS, we can see that the vertex O is in the middle of the circle. It's not touching the circumference, which means it is not a cyclic quadrilateral. However, for the quadrilateral RPTS and the quadrilateral QPTS, those two are cyclic quadrilaterals because all four vertices of the quadrilateral are touching the circumference. So you have to be very careful about these things. Look at the shape very carefully, highlight different things that you see. And for the cyclic quadrilateral, just remember all four vertices need to touch the circumference for you to apply the rule that opposite angles are going to add up to 180. So since we know m, which is 62, so n would be 180 minus 62, which is going to give us 118. Another thing you could have done was, you could have found this angle over here. This angle would have been 360 minus 124, which gives us 236. Now, same rule that we applied for angle M, we can apply for angle N as well. Angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference, which means if we do 236 divided by 2, that gives us 118. So like I said before, there's several ways to solve a question, especially in angles. You need to choose the method that suits you best. That helps you understand the question best. So I've shown you both the methods. You can choose the angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference concept over here to find n, or you can choose the cyclic quadrilateral to find the value of n. In the case, let's say your value of m was incorrect, and you were using the cyclic quadrilateral method to find the value of n, then you wouldn't get a mark because your previous answer was incorrect and you were using the same answer to find the next one. So in that case, then yes, the second method is more reliable because at least you're not getting your second answer wrong based on the previous one. But for this, then you need to identify the pattern as well. You need to know that this angle at the circumference will give you this angle by multiplying that angle by 2. So for circle theorems, you need to know these theorems by heart. So when you see a shape, you can easily recognize the theorem that's being used and score these easy marks. This was 3 marks. Okay, so this question actually came in last year's exam. I think June 2024 or November 2024. I don't remember exactly. This was very different compared to what they've given in the past. So I wanted to include this. Even though obviously they might not give the same thing, but you never know, they would give something along the same lines, like slightly similar. So there's no harm in going through this question. So it says that all the students in year 10 and all the students in year 11 named their favorite science subject from biology, chemistry, and physics. The pie chart shows information about the results for the year 10 students, and the table shows information about the results for the year 11 students. So we have biology, chemistry, and physics. They've shown us the angles in the pie chart, and they've given us expressions for each of these subjects in the table. Pie chart is for year 10, table is for year 11. There are 300 students in year 10. There are 320 students in year 11. More students in year 10 than in year 11 said biology was their favorite science subject. How many more? Finding the number of students for biology, chemistry, and physics for year 10 first. So biology is 126 degrees is x over 300 times 360. Normally, they give us the number of students for this subject and they ask us to find the angle to make the pie chart. But now, we're doing the reverse thing. They've given us the angle and we need to find the number of students for each subject. So that's going to be 126 times 300 divided by 360. And that's going to give us 105. That's for biology. Now for physics, angle is 132. So 132 degrees equals to x over 300 times 360. So 132 times 300 over 360. That's going to give us 110. So chemistry will be 300 minus 105 minus 110, which equals 85. So biology has 105 students, physics has 110 students, and chemistry has 85 students. This is for year 10. Now we need to figure out year 11. Year 11, it's saying that number of students for biology is 3x plus 6, chemistry is 5x plus 8, and physics is 7x minus 9. Total number of students, we will first find the value of x and then separately find the number of biology students for year 11. So 320 is equal to 3x plus 6 plus 5x plus 8 plus 7x minus 9. 3x plus 5x is 8x plus 7x, so 15x. 6 plus 8 is 14. 14 minus 9 is 5. 320 minus 5 over 15 is going to give us the value of x, which is 21. So 21, actually I would like to change the variable over here so that you don't get confused. This is y and this is c. Okay. So 21 is the value of x for year 11. So biology is 3 times 21 plus 6, which equals 69. So how many more like biology in year 10? We will subtract the 2. So 105 minus 69, that's 36. So 36 students, so 36 more students like biology in year 10 as compared to year 11. Question 12 says, solve the inequality 6x squared plus 37x less than equal to 35. Show clear algebraic working. So I specifically chose this question because it will target two areas. Factorizing a quadratic equation, solving a quadratic equation, and then solving a quadratic inequality as well. So first thing first, we bring the 35 to the other side. 6x squared plus 37x minus 35 is less than equal to 0. Now let's treat the left-hand side as we do with the quadratic equation. We just factorize the quadratic equation right now, and then I'll tell you what to do once we have the factors. So for the factorization part, like I've said in previous videos, you can use the quadratic formula or you can use splitting the middle term, whichever method suits you best. I'm going to go with the quadratic formula this time. So for the quadratic formula, you need to know that a quadratic equation comes in the format of ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, and c is the constant. So in our case, a is 6, b is 37, and c is negative 35. So we put this in the quadratic formula, and the quadratic formula is also provided in the formula sheet. So negative 37 plus minus root of 37 squared minus 4 times 6 times negative 35 over 2 times 6. So we solve the square root first. 37 squared plus 4 times 6 times 35. That's 2,209 divided by 12. So square root of 2,209 is 47. So negative 37 plus minus 47 over 12. So one value of x is going to be negative 37 plus 47 over 12. This is 47, which gives us 10 over 12, which is 5 over 6. And the other value is going to be negative 37 minus 47 over 12. So negative 37 minus 47 is 84. And 84 divided by 12 is 7. So negative 7 over here. Now comes the main part. So once you found the factors, let me just rewrite this in a different format. So x plus 7 times 6x minus 5 is less than equal to 0. This is what we have. So to solve this, we know that one x-intercept is negative 7 and the other is 5 over 6. So let's make a rough graph. This is just for your understanding. You don't need to show this as a part of the answer. So if the inequality says less than equal to 0, that means we're talking about the y values which are less than 0. And the y values which are less than 0 are going to be underneath the x-axis, which is over here. This is where your y values are less than equal to 0. So in this region, we have to basically see what is the behavior of the x-intercept that we have identified over here. If we look at x equals to negative 7, when we go towards the region that we've highlighted, the values of x are increasing. Whereas if you look at x equals to 5 over 6, the values of x are decreasing. And as you can see, both the arrows are converging, which means that the range is going to be a joint inequality. It's not going to be a separate one, which shows x is going to be less than equal to 5 over 6, but greater than equal to negative 7. This is the way you will write your answer. If you compare this with the quadratic equation, in a quadratic equation, if they ask you to solve it, you would have given x equals to negative 7, x equals to 5 over 6. If they had asked you to factorize the quadratic equation, you would have just written x plus 7 times 6x minus 5. But now, since it's a quadratic inequality, so you write your x values as an inequality because it's not equal to, something. It's less than equal to. So keeping that in mind, x is less than equal to 5 over 6, but greater than negative 7. Another thing, if let's say the inequality was greater than equal to 0. So let me use a different color for this. For greater than equal to 0, let's write over here. So if it was y is greater than equal to 0, like the quadratic equation, so then you would look at the range of values above the x-axis. So then in that case, if you notice, your values of x are diverging now. They're not converging. Since they're diverging, then you would have two separate inequalities for the x values. For x equals to -7, it would be less than equal to 7 then. And for x equals to 5/6, it would be greater than equal to 5/6. Their pattern has changed now. It's the opposite thing. For less than equal to 0, x equals to -7 is increasing. Whereas for greater than equal to 0, it's decreasing. So you just have to remember that based on the inequality, what region are we focusing on? And once you've identified that region, you have to identify the behavior of your factors of the quadratic equation in that region. Are they increasing or decreasing? Are they converging or diverging? Based on that, you will write your inequality for the values of x. Then it says change the speed of 27 kilometers per hour to a speed in meters per second. So for this, you just have to convert it from kilometers per hour to meters per second. And very scoring question. We know 1 kilometer equals to 1,000 meters. And 1 hour equals to 3,600 seconds. So what we will do is we will multiply 27 by 1,000 and then divide it by 3,600 because it's kilometers per hour. So times by 1,000 divided by 3,600. That gives us 7.5 meter per second. If it was going from meter per second to kilometers per hour, then it would be the opposite. Then you would do 27 times 3,600 divided by 1,000. This is for meter per second to kilometers per hour. The order changes. For kilometers per hour to meter per second, we times by 1,000 because meters are smaller than kilometers. So to convert kilometers into meters, we have to multiply by 1,000. So when we go from a smaller to a bigger unit, we divide. Hence, 27 gets divided by 1,000. So if you remember this order, easy 3 marks for you. Then some algebra. So changing the subject and algebraic fractions. So for the first part, they've given us this algebraic fraction and they're asking us to solve it. So it says 4x plus 5 over 3 minus 3 minus 2x over 2 equals to 13. So whenever we have an algebraic fraction or even like a normal fraction with different denominators and they're being added or subtracted, the only way we can solve it is to make the denominators equal first. To make the denominators equal, either you go for finding the lowest common multiple or you just multiply the opposite fraction with the denominator of the other fraction. And by that, what I mean is that in our case, since 4x plus 5 has a denominator of 3 and 3 minus 2x has a denominator of 2, so we can times the first fraction by 2, which is the denominator of the other fraction, and the second fraction by 3. So that leaves us with 2 times 4x plus 5 over 6 minus 3 times 3 minus 2x over 6 equals to 30. Since we have the same denominators, we can rewrite it as a single fraction. 2 times 4x is 8x. 2 times 5 is 10. This negative sign gets distributed with all of the terms in the bracket. You just don't write minus and then 9 and, minus 6x. That's wrong. You're multiplying -3 with 3 and -3 with -2x. So -3 times 3 is -9. -3 times -2x is +6x. Please make sure that you're using the negative sign. If you don't use it, your answer will be incorrect. This is a very common mistake that students make. Now we collect the like terms. 8x plus 6x is 14x. 10 minus 9 is 1 over 6 equal to 13. Cross multiply. So 14x plus 1 equals to 13 times 6, which is equal to 78. 14x equals to 78 minus 1, which is 77. And x equals to 77 divided by 14, which is 11 over 2. That is your value of x. You can also write it as a decimal, which is 5.5. That's your final answer. Then part B says make C the subject of G equals to C plus 3 over 4 plus C minus 7. So currently the subject of the equation is G, and we have to make sure that C is the subject. So first, what I would like to do is I would like to move the 7 to the other side. So we'll have G plus 7 equals to C plus 3 over 4 plus C. Remember, when we're moving a term from one side to the other side, if it's negative initially, on the other side it becomes positive. If it's positive initially, on the other side it becomes negative. If let's say initially it's multiplying to something, when you move it to the other side, it divides. So whatever function it's performing on one side, when you move it to the other side, it does the opposite. Hence, negative 7 becomes positive 7 on the left-hand side. Once we have done this, now I'm going to cross multiply G plus 7 with 4 plus C. And C plus 3 is going to be over here. Now you can see that we have gotten rid of the fraction. And after that, we're just going to expand these brackets, which will give us G times 4 plus C, and then plus 7 times 4 plus C, equal to C plus 3. G times 4 is 4G, G times C is CG, 7 times 4 is 28, and 7 times C is 7C. Next step is very important. What you need to do now is you need to collect all of the terms with the variable C on one side. So we know that the terms with variable C are CG, 7C, and C. These three terms need to be on one side and everything else needs to be on the other side. So what I will do is I will bring C to the left-hand side and move 4G and 28 to the right-hand side. So CG plus 7C minus C equals to 3 minus 28 minus 4G. So that's CG plus 6C. The reason why it's 6C is because 7C and C are like terms. So we can combine them. And over here, 3 minus 28 are like terms. That's going to be negative 25 minus 4G. Now, the reason why I collected all of the terms with the variable C on one side is because I want to take that variable common. When I take that variable common, we can easily see now there's only one C in the entire equation, which is exactly what we wanted, because if we have one C, we can easily make it the subject. If we have multiple C's, like we did in the initial equation, we can't make it the subject, because if we take one C to the other side, there will be another C on the other side as well. And that doesn't mean that we've made C the subject. So you need to make sure that you have isolated the terms with C on one side, take it common, and make sure that the term that you're trying to make the subject exists alone. There is no other term with that variable. So now last step, negative 25 minus 4G is going to get divided by G plus 6. And that's your answer. If you want, you can take the negative sign common in the numerator, or you can leave it as it is. Either way, it's going to be correct. Next question says that Mariana sells bags of bird food. The bags that Mariana sold last week each contained 12 kg of seeds. The bags that she is going to sell next week will each contain a mixture of nuts and seeds, where for each bag, weight of nuts is to weight of seeds is 4:5. The total weight of the nuts and the seeds in each bag will be 19.35 kg. The weight of seeds in each bag that Mariana sells next week will be less than the weight of seeds in each bag that Mariana sold last week. Work out this decrease as a percentage of the weight of seeds in each bag that Mariana sold last week, giving the answer correct to 1 decimal place. I know it's a very wordy question, and that's exactly why I put this in this predicted version, because such type of questions lose the students' interest. They don't read it properly, and they just see a few things and start working on the question based on those things, which I'm extremely against. I always advise my students to read one statement at a time, translate that statement into an equation if possible, solve it step by step, and then work on the question. Don't just pick on things and start with it without realizing what the question is actually asking us to do. So if you look at the second statement, she sold last week bags that each contain 12 kg of seeds. So let's highlight the important information. The bags that she is going to sell next week will each contain a mixture of nuts and seed in this ratio. The total weight of the nuts and seeds in each bag will be 19.35 kg. So what we can do is we can find the individual weight of the nuts and seeds for the bag that she's going to sell next week. We can start with that. So for nuts, that's going to be 4/9 times 19.35, which is going to give us 8.6 kg. And for seeds, it's going to be 5/9 times 19.35. Or you could even subtract 8.6 from 19.35, which is going to give us 10.75. So this is the separate weight of nuts and seeds in each bag that she is going to sell next week. And last week, the weight of seeds was 12 kgs. Okay, so we got that covered. The weight of seeds in each bag that Mariana sells next week will be less than the weight of seeds in each bag that Mariana sold last week. We've already established that. Work out this decrease as a percentage of the weight of seeds in each bag that Mariana sold last week. So for percentage decrease, we will subtract the new amount and the old amount. So 12 minus 10.75 divided by what she sold last week, which is 12, and then times the fraction by 100 because it's percentage. Whenever you're trying to find percentage, we always times the value by 100. So 12 minus 10.75, which is 1.25, times that by 100, 125, and then divided by 12, which is 10.42. Give your answer correct to 1 decimal place. So that's going to be 10.4%. That's the percentage decrease. Graphs of function. Very easy question. Most students want to skip this, but in my opinion, it's one of those questions which can help you save your grade. So it says that complete the table below with the letter of the graph that could represent each given equation. Write your answers on the dotted lines. So we have 3 equations. They have given you 7 graphs, and they need you to pick which one matches the given equation. So with y equals to negative 2 over x, okay, first you need to remember when it's a fraction and the variable is in the denominator, it's a rational function. And in a rational function, your graph will either be this one or this one. These are your rational functions. Now, which one is the correct one? For that, if you look at the graph for graph B, you can see that x is negative, but y is positive. Similarly, over here, x is positive, but y is negative, which means your overall function is going to be negative. Whereas in graph E, x and y both are positive, and x and y both are negative, which means overall function is going to be positive because we're dividing it. So I'll write the equation. This is y equals to something, let's say k over x, positive, and this is y equals to negative k over x. K can be any value. So looking at the graphs, we can easily tell that y equals to negative 2 over x is b. So let's write b over here for the first one. Then 5 minus x squared. So for 5 minus x squared, it's a quadratic equation because your highest power of x is 2. And whenever the highest power of x is 2, it's a quadratic equation. Now let's look at the quadratic equations that are given to us. This is a quadratic equation. This is a quadratic equation. So based on the given quadratic curves, we can tell that this is your maximum quadratic curve. This is your minimum quadratic curve. How do we know that's minimum maximum? In a maximum quadratic curve, your curve will reach a maximum value and then again show a decrease in your y value. It starts with a negative value, goes positive, reaches its highest value, and then drops down. Whereas in the minimum one, it's starting with the highest, it's dropping to its least value, and then it's again increasing. That's why it's called the minimum graph, because it reaches a minimum value and then again increases. Whereas in the maximum graph, it reaches a maximum value pi and then again changes. Whenever your coefficient of x squared, now quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c. Whenever a is greater than 0, it's minimum. When a is less than 0, it's maximum. Our equation is y equals to 5 minus x squared. Coefficient of x squared is negative 1, which means it's maximum. So that's going to be graph A. And then lastly, y equals to negative 2x cubed. Obviously, that's going to be from graph C or F. Now, these are your cubic graphs. So it's negative. This one is positive because once again, same concept as we did for the rational one. X and y are positive together and x and y are negative together. So this is y equals to positive x cubed. When x is negative, y is positive, or when x is positive, y is negative, that means it's negative x cubed. Whereas the third graph is going to be f. So using just this one question, I've explained 3 different types of graphs which are very commonly given in the paper. And I think by now you should be able to identify which one would be the positive one, which would be the negative one, which represents which. I think quadratic is something that everyone knows. Rational is something everyone gets scared of seeing and just makes a guess. But hopefully by now you should be able to understand which one is the correct one. And if you're still struggling with it, let me know in the comments below and I'll try to explain it again. And cubic is also a very different shape, so you should be able to recognize it. So these are the 3 main graphs that frequently appear in graphs of function questions. So over here, you'll write B, A, and F. That's your answer. Recurring decimals. Another very popular question that always comes. If it doesn't come in paper one, it comes in paper two. So for this, there's a very specific pattern, 2-3 steps. If you understand those two, and if you understand those 2-3 steps, you can easily score the 2 or 3 mark questions that they give in the exam. So what we do over here is that first we begin with assuming that x equals to 0.681, 81, 81, and so on. If you look closely, it says 0.681 where the dots are on 8 and 1, which means it's 8 and 1 that are being repeated, which are the recurring numbers, not just 8, not just 1, or 6 or 681. 8, 1 is being repeated. So after 681, we keep on writing 81, 81, and 81. Once we've established that, next we do is we multiply anything by x. By anything, I mean we can multiply 10, 100, or 1000. The reason why I'm choosing 10, 100, or 1000 because I want to make the calculation as simple as possible and less time consuming. So let's say I begin with 10. I'm going to multiply 10 with x. So multiply 10 with x, that leaves us with 6.81, 81, and so on. Now, if we compare x with 10x, we can see that we've moved the decimal one place to the right-hand side. And our goal, based on what's given in the question, is that we have to get rid of the decimal and convert this recurring decimal into a fraction. This has to be done without using a calculator. You have to show the steps. So if we multiply x with 10x, that gives us 6.8181 and so on. We have to multiply x with another number that would give us something that when we subtract the two, it would get rid of all of the numbers after the decimal. So keeping that in mind, I would like to multiply 0.681 by 1000. Why? Because when we times it by 1000, we move the decimal 3 places to the right. And that gives us 681.8181 and so on. If I had multiplied by 100, 100x would have given us 68.1818 and so on. We couldn't have used that because when we would have subtracted 10x from 100x, that would have gotten rid of all of the numbers after the decimal. Whereas with 1000x minus 10x, it gets rid of everything after the decimal because the digits are same, the starting number is the same, the second number is the same, and so on. So it eliminates everything after the decimal, which is exactly what we're trying to achieve through multiplying x by 10, 100, 1000, and so on, whatever suits you. Or the equation, actually, not just you, like whatever suits the equation. So if we do 1000x minus 10x now, on the other side, we'll be doing 681.81 minus 6.81. So that's 990x equal to 681 minus 6, which is equal to 675. As you can see, the numbers after decimal are exactly the same. So when you subtract the two numbers, they get cancelled out, which is exactly what we wanted to achieve through this. So that's why I chose 1000x and 10x and not 100x. So now 675 divided by 990. We simplify this. 675 divided by 5 would be 135. 990 divided by 5 would be 198. I think both come in the 3 times table, yeah. So 135 divided by 3 is 45. 198 divided by 3 is going to be 66. Again, divide by 3, so that's 15 over 22, which is exactly what's in the question. So what I like the most about these type of questions is that they give you the answer in the question. And you have to just pick the right method to get that answer. And the best part is that you can just manipulate your way through the working to show that this is the answer. Indices. So simplify fully 32a to the power 15 whole power 305. So fractional indices and negative indices are the one that students get most confused with. Even if they know the rules, the moment they see a fraction or negative number, they start overthinking the question. And because of that overthinking, they get it wrong, even if they know it. So remember, whenever you have a power outside the bracket and inside the bracket, you distribute that power on all of the terms inside the bracket, not just the variables, but the coefficients as well. Which means when I expand this, the power of 305 will also come on 32 and 15 for, which means when you distribute the power, it's going to come on 32 and a to the power of 15. So as you can see, when we distribute it from the outside, it gets multiplied with all of the powers of the terms inside. 32 doesn't have anything written, which means it has a power of 1. Hence, 1 times 305 is 305. Now, to simplify this 32 to the power of 305, you need to convert the 32 into index form. 32, as you would know, is the same as 2 to the power of 5. So let's rewrite 32 as 2 to the power of 5 times 3 over 5. And over here, if we simplify this, wait, this is 5, sorry. 15 divided by 5 is 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. So it becomes a to the power of 9. And for this case, 5 divided by 5 is 1. So it's 2 to the power of 3 times a to the power of 9, which is basically 8a to the power of 9. That is your answer. So once again, the rule is the same as it would be for like a non-fractional power. You distribute it on all of the terms inside the bracket, convert the coefficient into index form as well, multiply the powers, simplify it, and get your answer. Then part B says express 1 over 10x whole power negative 3 in the form of p times x to the power of n, where p and n are integers. So whenever you have a negative power, whether it's outside the bracket or inside the bracket, first thing I would suggest is to make it positive. How do we make it positive? What we can do is we can flip the fraction. When we flip the fraction, the sign of the power changes. So 1 over 10x whole power negative 3 becomes 10x whole power positive 3 now. Now we need to distribute the power of 3 on all of the terms. So it's 10 cube times x cube. 10 cube is 10 times 10 times 10, which is 1000. So as you can see, p is 1000, n is 3. So 1000 x cube is your answer. Next question says that the diagram shows a rectangle. The area of the rectangle is a centimeter square. Given that a is less than 3x plus 27, find the range of possible values for x. Now this question combines algebra, quadratic equations, and shapes. We know that the formula for the area of a rectangle is length times width. So in this case, it's going to be 2x minus 4 times 3x plus 2. Let's simplify this. So when you expand the bracket, it's 2x times 3x plus 2 minus 4 times 3x plus 2. The best part of this question is that you're also revising how to expand brackets. So 2x times 3x is 6x squared. 2x times 2 is 4x. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12x. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Collect the like terms. 4x and 12x are the like terms, so that's going to be negative 8x minus 8. That a is less than 3x plus 27. So if a is equal to 6x squared minus 8x minus 8, which means this expression is less than 3x plus 27. So a is less than 3x plus 27. 6x squared minus 8x minus 8. 3x plus 27. Move everything to the left-hand side. So 6x squared minus 8x minus 3x minus 8 minus 27 less than 0. Collect the like terms. Negative 8x minus 3x is negative 11x. Negative 8 minus 27 is negative 35. Now we need to factorize this quadratic equation to find the values of x. So for that, we can use the quadratic formula or splitting the middle term. Let's see if splitting the middle term would work. So if we do 6 times 35, that's 210, and we know that 21 times 10 is 210, and 21 minus 10 is 11. So let's use that to replace 11x. So 6x squared minus 21x plus 10x minus 35 is less than 0. Between 6x squared and 21x, we have 3x common. So 2x minus 7. And between 10x and negative 35, we have plus 5 common. So 2x minus 7 comes in the bracket again. Between 3x and 5, we have 2x minus 7 common. So 2x minus 7, bracket 3x plus 5 is less than 0. Now we're going to use the same concept that we use in the quadratic inequality question. We're going to draw our rough graph to understand the behavior of our intercepts. So this is going to be negative 5 over 3, and this is going to be 7 over 2. The inequality is less than 0, like the previous question, which means we look at the behavior of the x-intercepts below the x-axis where y is less than 0. So just like that question, values of x at x equals to negative 5 over 3 are increasing, and over here they're decreasing. In the question, they said that a has to be less than 3x plus 27. We also know that a equals to 6x squared minus 8x minus 8. So we have to pick that minimum positive value of x that satisfies this. To understand what should be the minimum value of x, because it cannot be negative. It's one of the lengths, so the length cannot be negative. So what we need to do is we need to figure out what the minimum positive value of x should be. If we use x equals to 1, what we get for the area is 6 times 1 squared minus 8 times 1 minus 8, which is negative 10. Area cannot be negative, so that means x equals to 1 cannot be a part of the range. If we use x equals to 2, we get a equals to 6 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 minus 8, which is giving us a value of 0. Okay. If we use x equals to 3, 6 times 3 squared minus 8 times 3 minus 8. So 6 times 9 minus 24 minus 8, that's giving us 22. So x equals to 2 onwards, your area is becoming positive, which means the least value of x is 2, and 2 is not included in the range because the area cannot be 0. Whereas the maximum value of x is going to be 7 over 2. So this will be your range of values for x. Once again, the reason why we did not choose -5/3 as the least value is because that would give us a negative value for area. And secondly, for the expression, we cannot choose a negative value of x because then the length would also become negative, which is also impossible. So we had to pick the least possible value of x that can be chosen to give us the area value. When we chose x equals to 1, we got a negative area, which means x equals to 1 cannot be a part of the range. When we chose x equals to 2, that gave us an area of 0. When we chose x equals to 3, that gave us a positive area, which is 22, which means x equals to 2 is your endpoint. Any value before x, any value after x equals to 2 would give us a positive value for area. Any value before x equals to 2 would give us a negative value. And at x equals to 2, it's going to be area equals to 0, which is also not possible. Hence, x has to be greater than 2, but it has to be less than 7/2 because that's the maximum value of the range. Hope this makes sense. If this question is still confusing, you'll leave me a comment below and I'll try to explain it again. Compound shapes. So in this one, it says that the diagram shows an 8-sided shape, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. And HG is given as 28. FG is given as 12. AB equals to EF, which is 5. The height of the shape is 20 centimeters. CD is parallel to HG. The area of the shape is 434 centimeters square. We have to find the length of CD. So in these type of shapes, what I always suggest is to split the shape into 2 different shapes or like 3 depending on what the shape is, and then try to solve them separately. When we split this compound shape, we can see that we have a rectangle at the bottom and a trapezium at the top. Since the entire height of the shape is 20 and a part of it is 12, which means this is going to be 20 minus 12, which is 8 centimeters. Now, if this entire length, HG, is 28, and a part of it is 5 and 5, which means this one is going to be BE, that's 28 minus 10, which is 18 centimeters. Now, if you notice, the only unknown is CD, which they're asking us to find. And when we split the compound shape, we notice that there's a trapezium at the top and a rectangle at the bottom. So if we find its area, so if we find their area separately, make separate equations, and then add them up and put them equal to 434, that would help us in identifying the value of CD, because that would be the only unknown value in that equation. So 434 equals to area of rectangle, which is length times width, plus area of the trapezium, which is 1/2 times height, times the sum of parallel sides. So 434 equals to 28 times 12 plus 1/2 times 8 times 18 plus CD. So 434 equals to 28 times 12, which is 336. 8 divided by 2 is 4 times 18 plus CD. 434 minus 336 equals to 4 times 18 plus CD, which is 98. Then we divide 98 by 4. You could have expanded the bracket as well, but in this case, I think it's going to be an extra step. So I divide 98 by 4. That's 24.5 minus 18. That's 6.5 centimeters. That is the length of CD. Histogram. So a postman records the weight of each parcel that he delivers. The histogram shows information about the weight of all the parcels that the postman delivered last Monday. No parcels weighed more than 6 kgs. 63 of the parcels that the postman delivered last Monday each had a weight between 0.5 kg and 2 kg. Work out the total number of parcels the postman delivered last Monday. So we need to work out the number of parcels the postman delivered last Monday. So the weight was between 0.5 and 2 kg. So between this point and this point, if we shade this, it's talking about this bar. So to figure out the total number of parcels, what we need to do is we need to use the 63 value and the class interval to figure out what the frequency density is at that point. Frequency density has the formula of frequency over class width. So frequency is 63 for this interval and class width is 2 minus 0.5, which is 1.5. So 63 divided by 1.5 is 42. 42 is the frequency density over here. This we said is 42. 2 units before this is 40. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. This is 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is 10. Okay. So for this, it's 18. For this one, it's 1, 2, 3, 24. This is 30. And this one is 8. These are our separate frequency density for each interval. So using these frequency densities and class intervals, I'm going to find the total number of parcels. Plus, then we had 63 for that, plus 24 times 1, plus 30 times 1, plus 8 times 2. That's going to give us 42. So 142 is the total number of parcels that he delivered last Monday. Then it says the postman picks at random 2 of the records of the parcels he delivered last Monday. Work out an estimate for the probability that each parcel weighed more than 2.25 kg. So more than 2.25 kg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 2.5. So 1, 2, in the middle of 2 and 3. This is your 2.25. So we know that over here, the number of parcels were 8 times 2, 16. Over here, 1 times 30, they were 30. And over here, it was, I think, 24. 1, 2, 3, yeah. But 24 are like for the total bar. 2.5 bars are excluded now. So if we count the total number of boxes in this bar, That's 24 is the total height, and the width is 10. So we're talking about 7.5. So over here, there are 10 columns in total, and we're focusing on the 7.5 columns. So 7.5 out of 10 times 24 will give us the frequency for the parcels that are over here. Because 24 is for the entire bar, we're focusing on this part. So 7.5 out of 10 times 24 is equal to 18. So total parcels for greater than 2.5 kg is going to be 18 plus 30 and plus 16. That's 64. And the total number of parcels we found to be was 142. So 64 over 142. But if I'm not wrong, they said 2 parcels. We're considering that each parcel weighed more than 2.2 kg. It said that the postman picks at random 2 of the records of the parcels he delivered last Monday. Work out an estimate for the probability that each parcel weighed more than 2.25 kg. So if we take one parcel, the probability of that parcel is 64 over 142. Then we talk about the second parcel. That means there's 1 out of the total number of parcels. So 64 becomes 63 and 142 becomes 141. This is without replacement. So if we multiply the two, what we get is 4,032 divided by 20,022. So once we simplify this, what we get is 672 divided by 3,337. If you want to write it as a decimal, that is also fine. That would equal to 0.201. Either way, it's correct. So remember, very important thing that he's picking 2 records of the parcels he delivered. So when he takes one parcel, there's 1 less the total number of parcels. That's why 64 becomes 63 and 142 becomes 141. And this is the probability of us taking the record of the second parcel. So you have to be very careful about the words mentioned in the question and make sure that you notice, is there replacement or is it without replacement? Sets and Venn diagrams. So for this, I chose the 3-set Venn diagram because 2 sets one are like easier to solve as compared to 3-set one. So I wanted to make sure that we go for the most weird looking questions so that if something similar comes in the test, we'll be able to easily solve it. So in this case, it says some students were asked the following questions. Which of the subjects, Russian, French, and German, do you study? Of these students, 4 study all 3 Russian, French, and German. So that's the common part in the middle. 10 study French and Russian. So remember when you have a 3-set Venn diagram and they talk about the common between 2 sets. So when it says 10 study Russian and French, 10 is all of this part, not just the top part, all of this. Because that's the intersection between Russian and French. So a part of that 10 is 4, which means the remaining part is going to be 6, because this total is equal to 10. Similarly, 13 study French and German. So for French and German, this entire thing is 13. So that means just for French and German without Russian in it is going to be 13 minus 4, which is 9. And lastly, 6 study Russian and German. So all of this is 6, which means this is going to be 2. Now it says 24 study German. So when it says 24 study German, that means the entire circle for German is going to be 24. So we already have a part of that 24 in the form of 2, 4, and 9. So we do 24 minus 9 minus 4 minus 2, and that leaves us with 9. So 9 people just study German, whereas 24 people study German. There's a difference between just studying German and study German. Because those 24 people who are studying German, they can study some other language as well, just Russian and French in this case. But these 9 people, they only study German, no other language. Similarly, 11 study none of the 3 subjects. So that's outside because that's not a part of either of the 3 sets. The number who study Russian only, there's a difference between this. Russian only means just Russian. German means German, Russian, and French, the overlapping part as well. So the number who study Russian only is twice the number who study French only. So if this is 2x, this is x, which is already given in the Venn diagram. So using this information, we can complete the Venn diagram, which is also what the question was asking us to do. That show all the summation on the Venn diagram, giving the number of students in each appropriate subset in terms of x where necessary. For just Russian, it is going to be 2x. We cannot further simplify this because we don't know what the total number of students are yet. If we knew that, we could have easily found the value of x as well. So this is the Venn diagram. Then it says, given that the number of students who were asked the question was 80, work out the number of students that study Russian. So exactly what I was talking about. In order for us to calculate the value of x, we need the total number of students. Without that, it's not going to be possible. What we will do is 80 equals to the sum of all of these, even 11, because that is a part of the total number of people. 2x plus 6 plus 4 plus 2 plus 9 plus x plus 9 plus 11. I don't know if you've noticed this, but like the overlapping region, we're only writing those values once, not twice. So let's combine the like terms. 2x plus x, 3x. 6 plus 4 is 10. Plus 11, so that's 21. Plus 9, 30. And then 30 plus 11, 41. Now we further solve this equation to find the value of x. So 80 minus 41 divided by 3. We have to find the value of the number of students that study Russian. Now it says study Russian, which means all of the students who study Russian. So that's going to be 2 times 13 plus 6 plus 4 plus 2. So 2 times 13 is 26 plus 6 plus 4 plus 2, and that is 38. 38 students study Russian. That is your answer. Simultaneous equations. So this is a set of linear simultaneous equations, which is not very difficult to solve. Another very common question that appears in paper 2. So to solve simultaneous equations, you can either use the elimination method or substitution method. I would suggest go for the elimination method because in substitution method, if like the variable that you're trying to eliminate has a coefficient greater than 1 in both equations, then when you make it the subject, you have a fraction. And when you substitute the fraction, there's a very high chance of you making an error while solving it. So one of the biggest advice that I can give you is avoid fractions if you can. Don't go for fractions because everyone makes mistakes with fractions. Keep it as simple as possible. So in simultaneous equations, the best choice is elimination method. if the coefficients of the variables are greater than 1, which is in this case as well. In both the equations, x has greater than 1 as the coefficient, and same for y. So once you've decided the method you want to choose, next thing I want you to do is pick the variable you want to eliminate. Do you want to eliminate x or do you want to eliminate y? I would go for eliminating x. The reason for that is because x has the quotient of 6 in the first equation and 3 in the second equation. I can easily turn the 3 into 6 by multiplying the entire equation by 2. So when you multiply the entire equation by 2, what we get is 6x plus 10y equals to 16. And the first equation remains as it is, which is 6x plus 4y equals to 1. Remember, whenever you're changing the coefficient of the variable that you want to eliminate, you multiply the entire equation by the number. You just don't multiply 3x, the entire equation. So 6x plus 10y equals to 16 is one equation, and the other is 6x plus 4y equals to 1. Now that we've made the coefficients equal for the variable we want to eliminate, next step is to identify the sign for that variable. Is that variable positive in both the equations? Is it negative? Are they different? Are they same? What? As you can see, x is positive in both the equations, which means for us to be able to eliminate x, we need to subtract the equations, because if we were adding them, 6x plus 6x would give us 12x. X would still be there, it's not getting eliminated. So you have to pick that thing which allows you to eliminate the variable that you want to. So as we are subtracting them, we can see that 6x minus 6x is 0. 10y minus 4y is 6y. 16 minus 1 is 15. So 6y equals to 15. Y equals to 15 divided by 6, which simplifies to 5 over 2, which in decimals is 2.5. Once we have the y value, we can use that to find the x value. We can substitute this into either of the equations to find the value of x. Do not make the mistake of using elimination method again to eliminate variable y to find x. That is correct, but it's extra work and it's going to waste time. You don't need to use elimination method again. You just substitute the value of y in either of the equations and find the x value. That's it. So let's pick the first equation. 6x plus 4y equals to 1. 6x plus 4 times 2.5 equals to 1. That's 6x plus 4 times 2.5 is going to give us 10 equals to 1. 6x is 1 minus 10, which is negative 9. X equals to negative 9 over 6, which is negative 3 over 2, and that's negative 1.5. So when y is 2.5, x is negative 1.5, and that is your solution for this simultaneous equation. Differentiation. So this is just one of the type of questions that can appear in your exam. If you're someone who is not familiar with the different type of questions that can come for differentiation, I posted a video about this yesterday, and that discusses all of the different types of differentiation questions that can come in exam. There are 3-4 categories, not difficult at all, but if you're someone who struggles with differentiation, I would advise you to just watch that video, understand what you're supposed to do, what the question is asking us to do, what are the specific keywords that you need to look for when identifying if you need to use differentiation or not. So coming back to the question, it says a particle P moves along a straight line that passes through the fixed point O. The displacement x meters of P from O at times t seconds, where t is greater than or equal to 0, is given by x equals to 4t cubed minus 27t plus 8. The direction of motion of P reverses when P is at the point A on the line. The acceleration of P at the instant when P is at A is a meter per second square. Find the value of A. So this is the type of differentiation question where they use kinematics for differentiation. You need to remember that when we're differentiating displacement, we get velocity. And when we're differentiating velocity, we get acceleration. If you would remember the speed time graphs and distance time graph, when you would have a distance time graph, the slope of the distance time graph would give you velocity. And that slope is the gradient, and dy by dx is also the gradient. So when you do dx by dt, where x is displacement, dx by dt gives us velocity. Similarly, when we had the velocity time graph, the slope of the velocity time graph would give us acceleration. So when you differentiate velocity function, you get acceleration. So exact same concept. The only difference is that now we're using the word differentiation and we're finding the derivative. In the previous case, when they would just give you the graph and ask you to find the slope, you would just do y2 minus y1 or x2 minus x1, depending on the given values. So same concept, just like an advanced way of solving the question. So let's begin with differentiating the displacement function. Dx by dt is going to be 12t squared minus 27. They said that the direction of motion of p reverses when p is at the point A on the line. So if the direction of the motion is reversing, that means your function is reaching at a maximum or a minimum point, and then it's again going in the same direction. Whenever your function is reaching a maximum or a minimum point, that means it's reaching its turning point. And as we know, at the turning point, your derivative always equals to 0. So if we put the derivative of the displacement function equals to 0, that would give us the value of time at the point, which is point A. At that point, what time is where the motion is reversing. So 0 equals to 12t squared minus 27. 27 equals to 12t squared. 27 divided by 12 equals to t squared, which is 9 over 4. Take the square root on both sides. So t equals to plus minus 3 over 2. Since we're talking about time, obviously we cannot take the negative value. So our focus is only going to be on the positive 3 over 2. Now that we've determined the value of t at point A, this is where our motion is reversing for particle P. The acceleration of P at that instant when P is at A is a meter per second squared. So to find the acceleration at that exact point, we need to differentiate the velocity function now. Velocity function is 12t squared minus 27. So dv over dt is going to be 24t. Now this is our acceleration. So they're saying that A, which is the acceleration at this point, is 24t. Time at this point is 3 over 2. So A equals to 24 times 3 over 2. 24 divided by 2 is 12. 12 times 3 is 36 meter per second square. This is the value of A at the point A, where your motion is reversing for the particle P. Indices. So this is like the harder version of the indices question as compared to the one that we did previously. So it says that find the values of n such that 10 to the power of 4n times 2 to the power of 3 times n squared minus 5n times 5 to the power of 2 times 1 minus 2n divided by 20 squared equals to 1. Show clear algebraic working. A lot of numbers, a lot of terms, very confusing at the first glance, but it's not that hard. Trust me. Let's first simplify the powers, expand the bracket. So we have 10 to the power of 4n times 2 to the power of 3 times n squared is 3n squared. 3 times negative 5n is negative 15n. Then 5 power 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4n. 20 squared, I'm going to rewrite that as 400 equals to 1. 10 to the power of 4n times 2 to the power of 3n squared minus 15n times 5 to the power of 2 minus 4n equals to 400. This is what we have. Next, what I would like to do is I would like to split the 10 to the power of 4n into 5 times 2, because 10 is basically 5 times 2. So if I do that, that's 5 times 2 whole power 4n. This is what we have. So when I distribute the power of 4n, it becomes 5 to the power of 4n times 2 to the power of 4n, and the other terms come as it is right now. And now if you look at your equation and compare it with the one given in the question, you have the same basis now. There are 2 terms with the base of 5 and 2 terms with the base of 2. And we can further use this to simplify our equation. When the bases are same, according to the rules of indices, we can add the powers, given that the bases are being multiplied. So that means for the base of 5, since they're being multiplied, we can add the powers. And for the base of 2, since they're being multiplied, we can add the powers. So let's do that to simplify it. 5 to the power of 4n plus 2 minus 4n times 2 to the power of 4n plus 3n squared minus 15n equals to 400. Now 4n plus 2 minus 4n gives us 5 squared. And to this one, we can combine the 4n negative 15n. So that's 2 to the power of 3n squared minus 11n equals to 400. 5 squared is 25. So 2 to the power of 3n squared minus 11n equals to 400 divided by 25. Now 400 by 25 gives us a value of 16. So 2 to the power of 3n squared minus 11n equals to 16. Can we convert 16 into a base of 2? Yes, we can. 16 is 8 times 2. 8 is 2 cubed. So 16 is 2 to the power of 4. So 2 to the power of 3n squared minus 11n is equal to 2 to the power of 4 over here. Whenever we have the same bases existing alone on each side of the equal to sign, what we can do is we can put the powers equal to each other, which means 3n squared minus 11n equals to 4. Bring the 4 to the other side. 3n squared minus 11n minus 4 equals to 0. As you can see, we have a quadratic equation, and we will use this quadratic equation to find the value of n. So when you factorize this, 3n squared minus 12n plus n minus 4 equals to 0. I'm using splitting the middle term method. You can use the quadratic formula. Like I've said before, whichever method works for you. Factor by grouping. So in the first 2 terms, we have 3n common. So n minus 4 in the bracket. So plus 1 bracket n minus 4 equals to 0. So n minus 4 bracket 3n plus 1 equals to 0. So n equals to 4 and n equals to negative 1 over 3. These are the 2 values of n for our question. Question 26 says the function f is such that f of x equals to 5 plus 6x minus x squared for x is less than or equal to 3. Express 5 plus 6x minus x squared in the form of p minus x minus q whole square, where p and q are constants. So I specifically chose this question so that I could address completing the square method and how to convert a quadratic equation into its inverse form. Both are linked. First thing you need to know is how to find the completing square form for a quadratic equation. So if you look at the equation, we have f(x) equals to 5 plus 6x minus x squared. First thing you need to check, what is the coefficient of x squared? Is it 1? Is it less than 1? Or is it greater than 1? It's less than 1 because it's negative 1. So what we do is we need to make that coefficient equal to 1. To do that, we will take negative 1 common from the entire equation. So when you take negative 1 common, we're left with x squared minus 6x minus 5 in the bracket. This step is very important. You have to make the quotient of x squared positive 1 before you start finding the completing square form. So if it's like a fraction, if it's like a number greater than 1, anything less than 1, you will take that common from the entire equation, not just from x squared, the entire equation. So we have negative 1 bracket x squared minus 6x minus 5. Now we start the completing square form. We are trying to complete this square, x squared minus 6x. A complete square, which is a minus b square or a plus b square, a minus b square basically expands to a square minus 2ab plus b square. If we compare this with x square minus 6x, what we have is the a square value and the 2ab value. We need to find the b square value to complete the square. How do we do that? We put 6x equals to 2ab. When you put 6x equals to 2ab, we know that a is x. So 6x equals to 2xb. And b is going to be 6x divided by 2x, which is 3. Hence, our b value is 3. So once we've identified the b value, what we do is we add our b squared in the equation. So we do plus 3 square, but we also do minus 3 square. Now, why do we do minus 3 square? The reason why I'm doing minus 3 square is because the plus 3 square was a new term that we introduced in the equation. It did not exist from the beginning. So if we're adding something new, remember that we have to subtract it as well. The logic is the same as when we're dealing with fractions. When you're making the denominators equal, when we're adding or subtracting fractions with unlike denominators, if you remember, whatever we multiply with the denominator, we multiply with the numerator as well, because we have to maintain that balance. We cannot just perform the action on the denominator. It has to be done on the numerator as well. So same logic is being applied over here. If you're adding b squared, you're supposed to subtract b squared as well to maintain the balance in the equation. So 3 squared minus 3 squared. Our complete square is these 3 terms. These 3 terms are equal to a minus b squared. So we're going to write these as x minus 3 squared. The negative 3 squared will be outside this bracket. It's not going to be part of it because complete square is just these 3. So minus 9 minus 5. Negative 1 bracket x minus 3 squared minus 14. And in the last step, we distribute the negative sign. So it's minus x minus 3 whole square plus 14. This is your quadratic equation in completing square form. Next, it says, using your answer to part A, find the range of values of x for which f inverse x is positive. So f of x is negative x minus 3 whole square plus 14. This is the answer that we got from part A. And the question is asked us to use that answer to find the range of values of x for which f inverse x is positive. So for that, let's find the inverse for this. To find the inverse, we first replace f of x with y. So y equals to negative x minus 3 whole square plus 14. Right now, y is the subject. We have to make x the subject of the equation. So let's move 14 to the other side. Y minus 14 equals to negative x minus 3 whole square. Divide both sides by negative 1. So it's going to be 14 minus y equal to x minus 3 whole square. Take the square root on both sides to get to the square. So that's going to be plus minus 14 minus y equals to x minus 3. The reason why it's plus minus because whenever we take the square root of a number, it gives us a positive and a negative value. Now, last thing is to move the 3 to the other side. So it's 3 plus minus root of 14 minus y equals to x. Replace the x with f inverse x and replace the y with x. This is your inverse function. Find the range of values of x for which f inverse x is positive. Now, to decide which expression will be used for f inverse x, do we use 3 plus root of 14 minus x or 3 minus root of 14 minus x? If we go back to the first part, it says that the function f is such that f of x equals to 5 plus 6x minus x squared for x is less than equal to 3. Now, if you have your original function and your inverse function, remember, whatever the domain and range are for the original function, for the inverse, they reverse. So your range becomes your domain of the inverse function, and the domain becomes your range. So for f of x, they said that x is less than equal to 3, which means for f inverse x, it has to be less than equal to 3. So for it to be less than equal to 3, we cannot use plus root of 14 minus x because that would give us a value greater than 3. So our inverse is going to be 3 minus root of 14 minus x. So this is your final inverse equation. Now, talking about finding the range of values of x for which f inverse x is positive, that means 3 minus root of 14 minus x is greater than 0. So negative 14 minus x is greater than negative 3. When we divide both sides by negative 1, we flip the inequality. That's root of 14 minus x less than 3. Square both sides to get rid of the root. So 14 minus x is less than 9. Negative x is 9 minus 14, which is negative 5. Again, we divide by negative 1, so x is greater than 5. So that means x has to be greater than 5, but it has to be less than 14 because when you have a function with the root, your x value is dependent on what's inside the root. So it's 14 minus x, and we know that inside the root, your root cannot be negative because we cannot take the square root of a negative number. So 14 minus x has to be greater than 0, which means negative x is greater than negative 14. Again, divide both sides by negative 1, so x is less than 14. So your maximum value is 5, minimum value is 14. So your answer is x is less than 14, but greater than 5. It might look very confusing at the moment, but I would say just take your time with this question, watch it step by step, understand why each step is happening. And if it's still confusing, you leave the comment below and I'll try to explain it again. So with that, we're done with the first version of 2H. Let me know what you guys think about it. Do you think I should add something else in the second version? Because I still haven't finalized it. It's like I have a rough vision in my mind, but I still need to finalize it. So if you want me to add something else, if you think something did not come and I've missed that out, let me know about the topic in the comments below, and I'll add that question as well. If you think we need to increase the difficulty level for some type of topic, let me know that as well, and I'll make the amends in the second version. And I hope this helps you, and if you like this video, please subscribe and hit the like button.